Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another live edition of Project Onward Artists at Home. We're really happy to be bringing you another installment with another one of Project Onward's great artists. But before we bring him on board, I want to just real quickly share a little bit about Project Onward and what they do. I assume most of you are probably already familiar with the work, but for those who may not be as familiar, it's a really fantastic nonprofit organization based here in Chicago that provides a studio and gallery space for adult artists with developmental disabilities. All kinds of, it just kind of runs the gamut, the spectrum, and as far as like backgrounds, conditions, lifestyles, educations, it all walks of life, and that's really evidenced in their work. They produce incredible work, which you can see a lot more of, and even buy some of your own at projectonward.org. And of course, when we're no longer quarantined, I would encourage you to go by their studio and gallery at the Bridgeport Arts Center in Chicago. I am really pleased to be welcoming an artist today that I think kind of embodies that spirit as well as anyone else, in that he has no formal art education. He's completely self-taught, and he comes from just a really interesting background, and his story and what led him to Project Onward is really one of the more interesting. So if you will bear with me for one moment, I'm going to invite Paul Kowalewski to join us, and he can tell you about all this and more. Hi, Paul.
Alex,
How are you?
is there enough light in here?
You look great.
Oh my God. All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, let me see. I hit a button that makes just one screen, like you, just yourself.
You can only see me?
No, I see both of us.
Oh, you see both of us. Okay. I think that's pretty standard, the split screen.
Okay.
Yeah, there may be a way for it to just be me, if that's what you'd prefer, but I'm really not sure how to do it, to be totally honest with you.
Okay.
I'm still new to this too, Paul. You'll have to bear with me.
Yeah, I hit it by accident and I don't remember what I did, so.
Oh, hey, that's all right. I mean, as long as you're comfortable moving ahead, we can
All right.
get into the interview. Cool. I want to talk a lot, obviously, about your work and you know, sort of what you think Project Onward does for you and what you think you bring to the table at Project Onward and what makes you unique as an artist, because your work is really outstanding. But I think the best place to start is just kind of your background and sort of how you've got a really interesting backstory and how you kind of discovered art and sort of what it means to you and the place it holds in your life. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, my background's sort of checkered. So, it, I started out as a roofer, okay, and then from there, I was pretty good at what I was doing. You know, I did that for like 25 years, and I didn't pick up a pencil. I didn't know anything about art, so okay, that's better. Yeah, I started drifting into really not a good place. You know, there's a lot of people that do that. You know, they, you know, not at fault of their own. I guess maybe it would be, but not really. It's just something that happens. And I was doing that for many years, and through divine intervention,
Mm-hmm.
um, I got snatched up out of that realm I was in. It was really, you know, it was like a roller coaster I was on, and I was able to function, but it was just like consuming me.
Yeah.
So one thing would lead to another, and I found myself, you know, in places that I didn't really like to be in. I mean, I didn't care to be in, you know. At the time, it didn't matter, you know, but yeah, it was consuming me, and like I said, I got picked up, and I was placed in another place, a different place,
Mm-hmm.
and that place was it took me away from where I was in my element, and that's where I learned how to do my art.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So it sounds
Um,
like you were in a pretty bad place, kind of physically
yeah,
and emotionally. You just, I mean, like a lot of
there's a
people, art was
there's,
very therapeutic for you.
there was a lot of people. There's a lot of people that go through that, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people look at it differently than others, and you know, it's just something that it isn't something that I wanted to do. It was something that I was controlled. I was like, you know, like you have to have a diabetes shot, you know, to take care of yourself, you know, if you got diabetes. And what I had was something else. And and it's something that I'll carry for the rest of my life,
Now, Paul,
you know.
did you kind of just sort of discover it on your own? Just sort of, it just kind of happened organically, or was there someone that kind of helped introduce you to art and encouraged you, or was it just sort of, like you said, just this divine intervention?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was going somewhere else.
No, no, that's
Um,
okay. There's
no, no, I was
no
back in the past. I was back in the past.
uh-huh.
And no, I was sent to prison for things that I had done,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I got they gave me some time. You know, I did 7 years, and
Wow.
um, yeah, that was the good place I was sent to. Believe it or not, you know, people look at prison like, you know, you're in a really shitty place.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but I tried to make the best of it. You know, as far as, you know, me being there, and, you know, just the element, you know, you'd see, anyway, I picked up a pencil, and I was doing, there were guys in there doing tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I would make patterns for them to put on other people, other guys.
Wow, that's cool.
And yeah, so yeah, that's where I would start. I would be doing that in the unit, and they had the round tables with the 4 seats, and everybody's probably seen them. And that's where I started scribbling around and doing that stuff. And then there's other guys that wanted portraits of their family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I excuse me, I was doing that also. You know, I needed to make a little money, you know, so that's how it was done.
Yeah.
And doing that, I started getting a little better and better, you know. It wasn't really that great in the beginning, but then things opened up, and they had an art room, and if you were in the art room or associated with it, you could draw. They had big tables. They had easels, and they didn't have supplies. So I would have to get that from the outside. And so I started simple, and I kept on drawing, and I was really intimidated about picking up a paintbrush.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just I felt frightened. And I would sit at the table, and there was one guy that told me, he says, you ought to pick up a paintbrush, you know. It's something you should do. And I did, and from there it's like just painting, making these things up out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would reference books for material. You know, I would look at I'd reference like old Renaissance paintings or old paintings, and sort of just like maybe not copy them, but take the essence of what they were,
Right,
and put them either on paper, down on paper, or on a canvas. And then from there, I just like move the pencil or the brush around, and they then you ever hear of automatism?
I'm not familiar with that term. No.
Okay, that's like just letting your mind go and not really having any control over what you're doing, but you're still doing something.
Yeah.
You know, making marks on the paper and paint on the canvas. And I did that. That's what I was doing basically. And we had headsets with radios, and we were able to listen to music, and that was my my catalyst.
Now, were you kind of surprised when you started to see this work that you were creating? I mean, clearly you've got an incredible amount of talent, and I'm sure that took some practice. But did it come as a shock to you the first time you really started to just put pen to paper and just kind of let this flow out of you? Were you surprised by the work?
Yeah, I was. Actually, I was, and I still am.
Yeah.
You know, I continue to be, and that's the basis. You know, I don't have. That's it.
Now, how much time would you say passed after you were out of prison and before you wound up at Project Onward? Did you have any kind of creative outlets between that time?
I did the same thing immediately when I got out.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was able to find a place to stay and do my work, and I was really good. I was glad about that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I that was like 2 different moves ago back. It was back in 2011.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's where I was at.
Excellent.
And did I answer your question?
Well, part of it. So I guess the next part of the question then is how did you end up at Project Onward? What led you there?
Okay, I got a girlfriend. Her name's Cecilia, mm-hmm. and they call her Ceci, and she's the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And she fell upon this place. I don't know if she was looking or what exactly happened, but Project Onward was in her, you know, in her sights. And then she told me about it and asked me if I wanted to do it. And we went down to Project Onward. And then there was, over there was Mark Jackson, mm-hmm. and Robin. Mark Jackson, like, a great guy. And Robin, she's great. But they sort of interviewed me. Yeah, I brought a portfolio down there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's better. Shit.
Take your time, Paul.
Oh, God. Yeah, we went down there, and I had a portfolio of some of my work, and they told me that they liked it, or they would think about it also, but they were looking at it and they were looking at it, and I was getting positive stuff from them, and they told me they'd call me back or get a hold of me later, and they did, and so far I guess the rest is history.
That's great. Now, how do you think your work has evolved since your time at Project Onward, and what do you think their influence has kind of been as far as your work ethic, style, and your inspiration?
You know, the people in Project Onward, the artists, they're great, and I, you know, aside from having my own ideas, I was, you know, you'd walk around and you could see their work and watch them work. And
were you used to pretty much working alone before that? Was that generally your style?
Yeah, and I still do. But as far as the Project Onward, the artists there, they inspire me. You know, there's Dijon. He's like right behind me. He does color pencil.
Yeah.
And
Dijon's watching right now too. I saw him log on.
Yeah, he does a lot of great things. And he made a mistake once, and I told him, I said, leave it. And he left it, and it stuck. And then there's Fernando, of course, and I wish I could water paint. Acrylic paint like him, you know, but I can't. I don't use acrylics. But all the other artists over there, they're just they're great.
Right.
And
yeah,
and if I need a little inspiration, I'll take a walk around the loft, and and that might pull me out of where I'm at. Yeah. You know, but
excellent. Well, your work also is just as spectacular, and I want to talk a little bit about that now. What I'd like to do, some people know you as Paul, others may know you by your pen name, which is Dada Obscura.
There's only
is really interesting, and I'd like if you would just kind of maybe explain the origin of that name a little, and maybe how it relates to your work.
Okay. When I was in prison, I do my work, and as I evolved, you know, I didn't really put my name down on it, on the work, you know, and if I did, I just used my first name, and then it was hard for me to, you know, continue like that, because I wanted a pseudonym, and being taken away from and put in prison, I was taken away from my daughter, and that's basically, you know, the Dada thing, and being gone and away was obscure. So that's where it came from.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, Dada Obscura. I was, you know, out of her life.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, that's pretty interesting. It definitely helps put it into context, and it's just a really cool sounding name. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and
good. This is a chance to plug your website too, which is dadaobscura.com. That's DADAOBSCURA.com. Does your girlfriend maintain that website?
Yeah, she does everything on it, basically. The things that I can't do. She gets into WordPress, and you know, I don't, and she's just so perfect.
I'm looking at it right now. It's really cool and has some of your best work on here. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work you've made since you've been with Project Onward, and maybe some of the inspiration behind it? I'm looking at some of these right now. I really like My Fate is an especially cool one. It's clearly a kind of a self-portrait. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
My fate.
Yeah. It's the one at
Oh, I
least
thought you were
you're
talking about.
holding a palette in your hand. I assume it's a self-portrait. It looks really cool. I mean, it's obviously kind of psychedelic and very colorful, kind of like there's some sort of
It's a self-portrait with a palette with no paint on it.
That's right. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I started that. I tried to try some realism, and I do that every so often, but it never ever happens the way I want it to. I'm not a photorealistic painter or even anything like that. But that's how it started, and then I started just moving the brush around, and then slowly, I guess that's where my face is like sort of cracked up.
Yeah.
Is that what it looks like?
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, that, and then
oh, I see. My fate was just the name of the link on the website, but that was the
right.
portrait associated with it.
I got confused.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me see. Okay, it's just called self-portrait here now. I see.
Right, and like in the background, that was all just like moving my hand as I'm listening to music,
yeah,
and making lines here and there, and areas dark, areas light, and then the colors. That's a colored background, right? Different colors. Okay. Yeah. That's when I was trying to mix and match colors so that they're like sort of uniform with each other, and then I'd sometimes get some paint from other guys that had too much on their palette, so I'd put that on my palette with what I had on my palette, and mix it in with the paint that I had on there, or I use it exclusively. So I didn't have any rhyme or reason to my color, but I just was hoping that it looked right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's what'd you ask me?
Oh yeah, no, that you answered the question. I just wanted to know a little bit more.
Yeah, the background thing I've incorporated in a few things that I've done, and it's something that if I want to make one now, I have no idea how to start. So I just go, and I go with the flow. Like I said, I'm plugged into my MP3.
Yeah.
And and it just goes.
What do you usually listen to when you work?
I'm sorry?
What do you listen to when you work?
Oh God, a lot of Tool.
Oh, excellent.
Everything between like Tori Amos and Mudvayne.
All right.
So, anybody knows Mudvayne? Anybody listens to Mudvayne?
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of Pink Floyd. When I was growing up, in my teens, I was listening to Pink Floyd. And that brought me elsewhere, aside from LSD, but that's another story.
Yeah, right. Well, I can kind of see the influence in all those artists you mentioned. All kind of have very iconic images associated with them. I know Pink Floyd, Hypnosis kind of famously designed some of their cover art. Tool certainly has some pretty kind of psychedelic looking artwork, and
there's an artist
here. And then the music, of course, is a little more complex and obviously heavy. I want to ask you about another kind of recurring theme in some of your work. A lot of this religious imagery. I'm looking right now at a piece called Crucifixion 2. That's one of my favorites. There are some other instances, though, of kind of like of the
crucifixion,
though, popping up.
The second crucifixion.
That's right.
With it's like a red background.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, that one was something that I don't know. I was stuck on the crucifixion. The whole crucifixion thing was when I was referencing books in prison, and they had a lot of subject matter. So everybody was doing a crucifixion, so I might as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the second one, though, that was like something that I wanted to kick out quick. And it didn't work out exactly that way because I always get too wrapped up into the meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I moved around from different colors, different shapes. I can't remember it exactly in my head what it looks like, but yeah, I don't know why. Some woman told me that she said it looked like he was floating, and I don't know. I just
Yeah, it does. It does a little, and there's kind of there's sort of it almost looks like sun and maybe even the moon or the earth behind him there.
oh
And
yeah yeah
around,
yeah
really cool.
yeah I think he's standing on an earth or something.
Yeah, yeah. It almost looks like he's kind of in the Earth's core, is sort of the impression that I get.
Okay.
It's really a pretty powerful image. Do you think that that religion kind of inspires a lot of your work? That's sort of something, whether you're trying to consciously incorporate it or not, that's sort of part of the inspiration behind your work?
Well, religion to me is sort of like there's something out there, and if I were to incorporate it in my work, I would use it more as of some sort of energy that I'm getting from it to be able to create whatever I'm doing. As far as any subject matter and that, yeah, there's the Madonnas. I did. There's like 2 Madonnas, and yeah, you're talking about religion, basically, right?
Yeah, just how you think it might, inspire you, or what sort of, what it is about that you find interesting, because it definitely seems to be a recurring theme throughout your work.
Yeah, that's I don't know. There's something beyond us.
Yeah.
Well, I might as well try to capture it, however it comes out and through my mind.
Absolutely. It's it's definitely a well of inspiration for sure. Whatever anyone's personal beliefs may be, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting imagery that comes along with it, and your interpretations are awesome. Melancholia is one that I'm looking at right now that I really like, where it's really colorful, and the theme seems to be a bit abstract. I mean, there's
a lot of elements in it.
Yeah, a lot of elements.
Is there a woman in the middle of it?
A woman in the middle, and a man standing in a river. And again, it's got kind of like that rock sort of mosaic landscape.
Right.
But then obviously there's kind of some really sad undertones to it. I mean, the name of it's Melancholia. Obviously, it must have come from, I don't know, a bit like a place of kind of longing or sadness or something like that.
It came to me while I was in prison.
Wow.
And that painting actually is painted on they have these coats that you wear in the wintertime they give you. And I was able to acquire a XXX large coat, and that's it's painted on the material of the coat itself. I cut out, I'm not sure if it's 28 by 34 or,
yep.
But I was
28 by 34.
Okay, I was able to
on XXL state issued prisoner jacket. I just noticed that. That's really amazing.
Yeah, it's federal prison.
Wow.
So, not state.
Wow, that's quite a canvas. Sure.
Yeah, and as far as the pieces in there, I like to sometimes juxtapose stuff. and depending on how I feel, I started with the woman in the middle, I believe, and then from there it just worked its way out. So after weeks and weeks of going out to the art room and only being able to stay out there for a couple few hours, you leave there and then you get wrapped up in the normal life, and then you go back there, and you're not necessarily thinking the same thing you did when you left. So I would come back, and if I didn't have anything already started, I would start something else, and who knows where that would be. But it's either like it's something that was part of me in my mind, or it's just something that just looked cool. Well, and yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I bet we've got that one seemed to pique some interest here. We've got some questions coming in from some of our viewers. Hammy Morta one asked if it's sold, but I see here on your website that it's not for sale, but that there are prints available.
Yeah.
I imagine you can either go to dadaobscura.com or projectonward.org, of course, to find out more about that.
Yeah.
I want to take a couple more questions here, if you'll indulge us, Paul.
Sure.
Strama Mama Chicago asked if there was one artist you could meet, who would it be and why? And I'm going to go ahead and just expound on that and say any artist living or dead that you could meet. And you know what? Doesn't even have to be a visual artist. Musician, actor, dancer.
There's too many. There's way too many.
Yeah.
But the main, like when I started painting and drawing, I always had a real liking towards Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
And also and a lot of the other surrealistic artists, and also Pablo Picasso, and there are a handful of their cubisms. But those two guys I'd probably like to maybe talk to.
Excellent. That kind of answers White Island's question here too, which is, did you study surrealist and cubist movements? And it sounds like you definitely have drawn some inspiration.
Yeah, I haven't read much on any art. I don't know very much about art, as far as if I had to go to school and know things. I would. I've read a few things here and there, but the images that they have, it's like I can't copy it, but I try to. I'm drawn towards those two art forms, and aside from a few other things, I just I try to that's how my mind works. It works like that. And plus, I think doing a lot of psychedelics when I was young had something to do with it, because I see things that are surprising to me. So
yeah. Well, hey, you're certainly not the first great artist to draw inspiration from that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We had the puppyist ask, what is your work ritual or routine like? Now, again, you've already kind of mentioned that it seems to be really intuitive. This stuff just kind of flows out of you. But when you what do you do when you decide you want to make art? What's just kind of like, do you have a ritual? Do you have a routine? You said you like to listen to music.
Yeah, usually if I want to create something and I have it in my mind, it's really difficult for me to look at a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper. But that's intimidating to me. But once I start doing something and putting some marks on there, and it goes from there.
Yeah. Excellent. I of course have to. I asked John the same thing when I interviewed him last time. Given the situation the whole world has found itself in now, I have to know what your process has been like during the pandemic and while you're stuck at home. Have you been working on a lot of stuff, and also, do you have anything that you can show us right now that you've been working on?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a painting, and I just about finished this one drawing, and I got a couple other pieces that need to be finished that have been hanging around me for quite a while,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to finish stuff off that I started, and and I'm doing. I think I'm doing more work now than I was before. I don't know why, but
Uh-huh.
that's the way it is.
Do you feel like
And
the pandemic has directly influenced your work at all? Do you think it's starting to kind of come through at all in in your drawings and your paintings?
well, okay, there's this drawing here. All right, it came from a drawing that I had that is no longer that no longer exists. There's a few things that I had that got caught up in a flood, and and this was while I was still in prison. But where they were at, they got destroyed. So there's those handful of things have different ingredients in them, and this is one ingredient of what I had in the drawing,
Hmm.
and I just expanded on it, and I didn't do anything else as far as anything else that was in the drawing with it. Just this one thing in particular, and um, it sort of embodies a little bit of the pandemic being locked down stuff thing, but this was basically a thing for me. The reason I made it, I drew it, was because I was still in prison, and this is how I. Let me see if I can do this. Uh, okay, okay,
Oh, fantastic.
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that. Are you getting all of it?
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, that that's a hand holding time, and there was me, just sort of like behind the bars, uh, and all the other stuff around it, the background and the ground
Uh-huh.
was stuff that I just made now. Now it wasn't on the drawing,
Wow.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know if you
really
could see it.
incredible. And I can see,
Oh, here.
yeah, can you,
Hold on. What's that?
oh yeah, can you just actually, yeah,
Oh,
go in a little closer on the hand and some of the detail there because it's really amazing. What's
yeah.
what's the hand kind of mounted on there?
Um, it's like it's it's on like those are bars,
Oh, I see. Wow.
and there's the prison garb of the guy that's underneath there holding the hand up while he's crushed or sort of like cramped in that space.
Yeah, I see it now.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's
I
really
don't know how
incredible.
far you still get the full picture.
Yeah, well now we're definitely close up on the man in the bars now, holding up the hand, so we can really see the detail there. It's really amazing. Uh, I can definitely see how you kind of your sort of origin of designing tattoos kind of still
Oh yeah.
plays into
Here
it.
I got
It's
one.
all very
I
linked.
got one. I got one other thing
Uh-huh.
that, as far as the pandemic, um, this one right here. Oh shit! I can't. Man, I'm trying to get rid of this thing that's in my screen.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Looks great.
Yeah, originally that was the face in there was just by itself,
Hmm.
but I didn't have anything in the background, and I accidentally spilled some grapefruit juice on it, and I wiped it real fast, and I couldn't get all of it off. So I think one of those things that are those lines, that's where one of the grapefruit grapefruit juice spilled and made that impression. But you can't see it anymore because there's too many other things in there, other lines to confuse you.
Great.
So I can't even remember where it was at. So, let me try.
Story on that piece. Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to. Okay.
Are you in your workspace right now? Is this kind of your studio where you make most of your art? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, real quick, Good But Too Many Cats pointed out that your kind of working your mistake of spilling the grapefruit juice on that piece was sort of how kind of similar to how you encouraged Jean to just leave his mistake in his work and
right.
the work become part of the piece.
You never know what could happen.
Yeah, that's so great.
My space is here. I don't know if you can see. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. To the right is where I paint.
Mm-hmm.
And to the left, there's a table there, and that's where I draw.
Very cool.
Yeah. This is really annoying me. It says.
You're doing great, Paul, and I really appreciate you. Uh-oh. I think we might have just lost Paul. I'll see if I can get him back here. If not, I think we're about to wrap it up anyway. Let's see. Stand by. All right. Paul may have signed off. That's okay. We've certainly been experiencing some technical difficulties on our end too. But I think we got through most of the questions I had. Thank you all for watching, and thank you so much again to Paul for joining us. He's doing incredible work, and he'll continue to produce really amazing work throughout the pandemic and when everyone's able to return to Project Onward. Again, you can find out more at projectonward.org. You can visit Paul's website at dadaobscura.com. And on behalf of everyone at Project Onward, all of the amazing volunteers and employees and artists, I'm your host, Alex Oliver. Thank you again so much for watching. We'll see you next time.